7:17 a.m. Netanyahu's voice was sharp as a blade. Captain Traore, you have exactly 48 hours. Restore our mining contracts. Reinstate our surveillance partnerships. Reverse every single decision against Israeli interests in Burkina Faso. Do this immediately, or face two choices. Flee your country like a coward, or surrender your presidency to us. Refuse, and I will personally ensure your government becomes a warning to every other African leader who thinks they can defy us. The line went dead. But that wasn't the real ultimatum. The real ultimatum came 30 minutes later. Another call, same voice, different message. Captain, let me be clearer. You have 48 hours to leave your position and hand power to someone who understands cooperation, or surrender completely to our terms. Your choice. Step down voluntarily, or we remove you involuntarily. This time, I didn't wait for him to hang up. Prime Minister Netanyahu, I said, my voice steady as granite. Let me be clearer too. I don't negotiate with extortionists. I don't bow to bullies. And I certainly don't abandon my people because a foreign power threatens me. I hung up on the Prime Minister of Israel. 48 hours to abandon my office, to surrender my nation's sovereignty, to choose between exile and submission. I stared at the phone in the darkness of my office, and I felt something I hadn't experienced since my days fighting jihadists in the Sahel. Not fear, clarity. They had just made the biggest mistake of their political lives. They had threatened a man who would rather die standing than live kneeling. I called my security chief immediately. Assemble the council. Emergency session. Now. Sir, it's 3 a.m. They just ordered me to abandon my post or surrender my country. I don't care what time at Island. Within an hour, my inner circle sat around the crisis room table. Defense Minister, Intelligence Chief, Foreign Affairs Advisor. The only people I trusted with what we were facing. Gentlemen, I said, placing the recording device on the table, listen to what the Prime Minister of Israel just told the President of Burkina Faso. I played both recordings. Netanyahu's voice filled the room with its arrogant demands. First, restore Israeli contracts. Second, leave office or surrender completely. The silence that followed was deafening. My defense minister spoke first. Sir, this isn't just a threat to policy. This is a direct demand for regime change. This is what superpowers do before they act. My intelligence chief nodded grimly. We've been tracking unusual activity for weeks. Increased satellite surveillance, cyber probes on our systems, money transfers to suspicious accounts. They've been preparing for this moment. Preparing for what? I asked, though I knew the answer. Your removal. Either you step down voluntarily within 48 hours, or they'll create the conditions that force you out. Destabilization campaigns. Economic warfare. Orchestrated unrest, if necessary. I leaned back in my chair. 48 hours to choose between voluntary exile and involuntary removal, between stepping down with some dignity or being dragged down in chaos. What are our options? I asked. Accept their terms, my foreign affairs advisor said quietly. Step down. Hand power to someone they approve of. Hope they let you leave the country safely. Never, I said immediately. What else? Stand firm and prepare for war, my defense minister replied. Not military war, they're too smart for that. But every other kind of war. Economic, digital, psychological, political. I stood and walked to the map of Burkina Faso hanging on the wall. Our small, landlocked country. 22 million people. No nuclear weapons, no powerful military. No leverage except our refusal to kneel. But sometimes refusal is enough. Here's what we're going to do, I said, turning back to face them. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten the wrong African leader. Sir, my intelligence chief asked. They think I'll run because I'm outnumbered. They think I'll surrender because I'm outgunned. They think I'll abandon my people because I'm afraid. But they've made one critical miscalculation. What's that? They think this is still 1,960. They think African leaders still jump when white men whistle. They think we still believe their approval matters more than our people's trust. I picked up my secure phone and began making calls. Not to beg for help. To build an alliance of resistance. First call, Caracas. President Maduro, Israel just demanded I step down from office. I'm calling to let you know I'm refusing. Second call, Tehran. I need to speak with Supreme Leader Khamenei. Israel just gave me 48 hours to surrender or face removal. Third call, Moscow. Connect me to President Putin. This is about regime change operations. Fourth call, Beijing. Priority line to President Xi. Israel is attempting to remove an African head of state. My advisors stared in shock. I was doing something no threatened African leader had done in decades, refusing to face the storm alone. Sir, my foreign affairs advisor whispered, this could make us enemies of the entire Western alliance. We're already their enemies, I replied. The moment I refused to restore Israeli contracts, we became a problem to be solved. The moment Netanyahu demanded I step down, we became a target to be removed. We might as well choose our allies while we still can. The next 18 hours were the most intense diplomatic marathon of my life. Emergency video conferences with leaders who had faced similar ultimatums. Encrypted conversations with intelligence services that specialized in countering Israeli operations. Technical consultations with experts who understood regime change operations. By hour 20 of the 48-hour deadline, I had assembled something Netanyahu never expected. A global support network. Venezuela offered political sanctuary if I needed to leave the country temporarily. Iran promised cybersecurity assistance if Israeli hackers attacked our infrastructure. Russia indicated they could provide military advisors if the situation escalated. China suggested economic partnerships that could replace any Western investment we lost. But the most important support came from an unexpected source, my own people. Word of Netanyahu's ultimatum had leaked. Not from my government, from Israeli sources who couldn't resist bragging about their pressure tactics. By morning, every radio station in Burkina Faso was broadcasting the story. Prime Minister Netanyahu has given President Traore 48 hours to restore Israeli mining contracts and surveillance partnerships, or face removal as a warning to other African leaders. The response was immediate and explosive. Not panic, not fear. Pure, unfiltered rage. By noon, crowds were gathering outside the presidential palace. Not to demand I comply with Netanyahu's ultimatum. To demand I tell him where he could put his surveillance partnerships. Traore stays, they chanted. Our minerals are not Israeli property. No foreign surveillance in Burkina Faso. Netanyahu can make his own warning. Young people filled the streets carrying signs that captured the moment perfectly. 48 hours, try 48 years, we won't be your resource colony. Netanyahu, African presidents don't take orders. Surveillance partnerships are spy operations. Hour 30. Netanyahu called again. Captain Traore, you have 18 hours remaining. I hope you're using this time wisely. Your people don't need to suffer for your pride. This time, I was ready for him. Prime Minister Netanyahu, I said calmly, let me save you some time. I will not be stepping down. I will not be surrendering. I will not be intimidated by a foreign government into abandoning my people. You don't understand what you're facing. I understand perfectly. You're attempting to remove a democratically elected African president because he refused to let you extract our resources on your terms. But you've made one critical error in your calculations. What's that? You forgot to ask my people if they wanted a new president, and judging by the crowds outside my window, they seem quite satisfied with the one they have. Those crowds won't protect you from what's coming. Those crowds are what's coming. 22 million Burkinabe who just learned that Israel thinks it has the right to choose their president. Do you really want to test their response to foreign interference in their democracy? The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Then, you're right, I replied. It's just beginning. Because now every African leader knows what happens when they displease Israel. And every African citizen knows that their democracy is under threat from foreign powers. Congratulations, Prime Minister. You've just created the continental resistance movement you were trying to prevent. I hung up on him again. Hour 36. The real pressure began. My intelligence chief burst into my office. Sir, we're under comprehensive assault. Banking systems are crashing. Power grids are fluctuating. Communications networks are being jammed. But that's not the worst part. What is? Social media is being flooded with fake reports that you've already fled the country. Staged videos of government officials calling for your resignation. Fabricated documents showing Swiss bank accounts in your name. They're not just attacking our infrastructure, they're attacking your legitimacy. Expected, I said. What about our countermeasures? Operational. When they crashed our banking systems, our backup networks came online. When they attacked our power grid, distributed generators maintained essential services. When they jammed our communications, encrypted channels continued operating. And the disinformation campaign? We're countering in real time. Every fake video is being debunked within minutes. Every fabricated document is being exposed immediately. But sir, he paused. They're not just attacking you anymore, they're attacking the entire concept of African independence. He showed me a coordinated media blitz across Western outlets. African authoritarianism on the rise, democratic backsliding in West Africa, the dangerous precedent of anti-Western African leaders. They're not just trying to remove you, he continued. They're trying to discredit the idea that African leaders can say no to Western demands. Hour 40. 8 hours before the deadline. This is when something unprecedented happened. African leaders began calling me directly, not to advise caution or suggest compromise, to offer support. Mali's president, Ibrahim, if they can remove you for refusing their contracts, they can remove any of us. We're coordinating a continental response. Niger's leader, Our parliament just passed a resolution condemning foreign interference in African democratic processes. If they try to remove you, they'll face continental sanctions. Ghana's president, we're calling an emergency African Union session. Any attack on Burkina Faso's sovereignty